Okay, so just sit yourself on your lift. Come into a comfortable cross-legged position. Just have a little wriggle about. Feels very bright this morning, which is nice, isn't it? Sometimes this time of the year it feels really dark early, doesn't it? But it feels really nice and bright this morning, so that's good. So hold onto your knees, lift and open your chest, and then draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Just listen to the sound of your breath as it enters and as it exits. Just spend a moment to observe how you're sitting. So is there levelness underneath the seat bones? Are you pulling yourself forwards onto the front edge of the seat bones, but are you working too firmly in the spine? So perhaps draw the abdomen towards the spine to protect the lumbar. Lift up into the chest, draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Look down at the floor, look at something that's not moving. Keep your eyes still in the sockets. And then release your knees, bring your hands into Namastic, push the palms firmly together. And then with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Listening to the sound of the breath as it enters and as it exits. And with an exhalation, draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. And then when you're ready, release your hands down toward your knees, but hold on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area. And then raise your head and allow your eyes to gently open. So just spend a moment or two just sitting in the breath, just observing the breath as it enters and as it exits. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left side. So to the right side, turning to the right, drawing your abdomen across, your ribs across, your shoulders across. Just listen to the sound of the breath and work with the out breath to turn a little more deeply. And then come back to the center, lift and open the chest, drive your spine upwards. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left. Using the out breath to intensify the turn of the spine. Drawing the abdomen from the right to the left. And then come back to the center. Just come off your lift and go into Adho Mukha Virasana, sitting back on your heels, big toes together, your knees apart. Just wriggle into your heels so that you get good contact between the seat bones and the heels, so that we can try and maintain that connection as we come forwards. And then lift and elevate the front chest as you come forward. Stretch your arms away. Spread the fingers, spread the palms. Aim to maintain the connection between the seat bones and the heels, stretching away. And then bring your forehead down. Just breathing nice and evenly, listening to the sound of the breath. Just feel that you can stretch the armpit region by hitting the seat bones as close to the heels as you possibly can, and then lengthening into the fingertips, into the palms of the hand. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, and then come up into dog down. Push the heels of the hands into the floor, lengthen from the heels of the hands into the finger knuckles, into the fingertips, and then lift out of the arms. Reach from the wrists into the elbows, into the armpits, and from the armpits into the hips. Just feel where your body is this morning. Just feel how the pose challenges you and feels good. How it feels like you can stretch out your legs, how you can stretch out the arms, stretch out the armpit region. Just breathe evenly, listening to the breath. Keep your arms where they are, keep your legs where they are, and then swing the hips forwards, come into dog up. Just lifting the front chest, broadening the diaphragm region. Lifting from the abdomen to the diaphragm to the collarbone. Breathing evenly. And then come back up into dog down. Just maintaining the connection of the full palm of the hand, the fingertips. And then again, keep the hands where they are, keep the feet where they are, and then come back up into dog up. Feel that you can draw the crease of the elbows to face the front. So it helps to open up the collarbone, lift the chest. And then one more time, come back up into dog down. So it's just a good way of waking up the body, lift the front chest deeply so that the back chest draws inwards, the shoulder blades draw in towards the front chest. And then step your feet forwards, just come up into a standing position. Just get your blocks for your hands, and then have your feet as wide apart as your mat. So turn your toes inwards a little, have your heels as wide apart as the mat, your little toes as wide apart as the mat, and then lift and open the chest. Activate the legs, tightening the kneecaps, hitting the shins back. Lift and open the chest, raise your arms, extend up into the little finger side. And then hinge at the hips. Come forwards, keeping the front chest lifted, extension in the front chest, and then find the blocks. So just feel your way into the pose at this precise moment. Tightening the kneecaps, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, broadening the backs of the thighs outwards, and then working to lift the seat bones away from the backs of the thighs, and then extend into the front chest. Front chest long. Breathe evenly, deeply. If you can go down lower, then just drop the blocks down onto a lower level. If you're staying on the higher level because of problems with your back, then just stay there, but keep working the legs, keep extending the chin and the chest forwards. If you can find the floor, then find the floor. So just observe your breath. The in-breath should be long, subtle, deep, rhythmic, and even. The energizing ingredients of the atmosphere percolate into the cells of the lungs and rejuvenate life. That's a great sentence, isn't it? The energizing ingredients of the atmosphere percolate into the cells of the lungs and rejuvenate life. If you can reach down and find the backs of your heels, then do. Energizing ingredients of the atmosphere percolate into the cells of the lungs and rejuvenate life. So just focus on the inhalation. Focus on how the inhalation brings in energizing and health-giving compounds and gases that bring energy, positivity, and rejuvenation. Bring your hands underneath your shoulders and then come back up into a standing position. Just face the front, come into Tadasana, and then lift and open the chest. So spread the toes. Feel how the feet connect to the floor. Can you give yourself a mental image of the feet in connection with the floor? So hopefully there's an image of the toe mounds spreading, of the outer edge of the foot making good firm contact with the floor, with the heel of the foot, with the back of the heel, with the center of the heel, making good contact with the floor. And then with the instep lifting. So spend a little moment just to observe the feet, the contact with the floor, and then lift the shins out of the ankle socket, away from the feet. Hit the shins back so that the weight is in your heels. Tighten your kneecaps, hit your thighs back, turn the fronts of the thighs inwards, and then notice how your weight changes on the heels. If you turn your legs outwards, then all of the weight goes onto the outside edge of the heels and to the outside edge of the feet. When you turn your legs inwards, your weight transfers into the center of the heel. Keep lifting the insteps, turning those thighs inwards, and then tuck in the tailbone in, drawing the abdomen towards the spine, lifting and opening the chest, driving the shoulders away from your ears. Bring your arms out nice and wide, in towards your chest, and then step or jump your feet apart. So lift and open your chest, and just observe now how your feet make contact with the floor. Probably the inner edge of the foot is making much better contact than the outer edge of the foot. So see if you can bring more contact with the outer edge of the foot. You might have to turn your legs outwards a little, because that is when the body is facing forwards, this kind of opposite Tadasana leg is what we need to bring the outside edge of the foot down, which is why when we turn that way, we turn the leg outwards. But you can feel it right from this stage. In order to bring the outside of the foot down onto the floor, we need to broaden outwards rather than turn inwards. Just turn inwards, and then notice that you collapse the insteps, broaden outwards, and the outer edge of the foot comes down. Turn your left toes in slightly. Keep turning that leg outwards so that the outside edge of the foot connects. And then turn the right leg and foot all the way out. Again, continuing that turn so that the outside of the foot makes contact with the floor. That also makes you want to do this, doesn't it? So turn, and turn. And then come down and find the shin. Or use your chair or whatever you need in order to improve your pose. Turn the chest up to face the ceiling. Breathe, keep turning those legs outwards so that you make contact with the little toe side of the foot. But at the same time, lengthen from the outer heel into the big toe of that front leg, just to stop you from overturning the foot. Squeeze the front leg buttock bone forward, turn the chest up to face the ceiling. And then reach up, come back to the center, and then swap your feet around. Turn your right toes in and your left leg and foot all the way out. Again, just turning those legs so the outside edge of the foot makes good contact And then reach over, find the shin. Turn the chest, look up. But stay foot-minded. Maintain contact of the feet. Keep turning the legs outwards, squeezing the front leg buttock bone forwards, and then focusing on the energy giving ingredients of the environment percolating into the lungs and rejuvenating life. And then reach up, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and then step or jump feet back together, and then come back into Tadasana. Just observe how the legs feel after stretching them out. Just go back to the feet. If you turn these legs outwards like we did in trikonasana, then the weight goes all the way to the outside edge of the foot, and we kind of lose the contact of the big toe, lose the contact of the inner heel. So turn the legs inwards so that the inner heel is able to kind of stamp down in the center of the heel, and then from that center of the heel we can lift upwards much more efficiently. Lengthen the shoulders away from your ears. Tuck the tailbone in, draw the abdomen towards the spine. Breathing evenly and deeply. So we've stretched out the legs. Hopefully we've stretched out the chest a little, but let's go into gomukhasana. So get yourself a belt if you feel like you might need it, and put the belt over your right shoulder. So my shoulders yesterday were really stiff when we did this, so maybe they'll be, well, let's just see today. So Tadasana, the legs, turn the legs inwards, tuck the tailbone in, lift, and open the chest. Spend a moment in Tadasana to just extend from the shoulders down into the fingertips. Drawing your consciousness into each individual finger. Spread in the palm skin, stretch in the palm skin. And then reach forward. Keep the focus in the fingertips, in the palm of the hand. And then rotate the palm and the upper arm in the socket. Keep rotating that upper arm in the socket as you reach behind you, keeping the arm high for as long as you can, and then assist that arm up your back, all without disturbing, if you can, your Tadasana. And then reach up, extend into the right arm, and then reach down and take hold. So I can get hold today. I actually used the belt yesterday. It just shows how our shoulders respond. So maintain the action of the legs, turning the legs inwards, feeling that the center of the heel is in contact with the floor. Press that down. Lift out of the center of the heel up into the hips, from the hips up into the armpits, from the armpits down into the elbows, or up into the elbows as the case may be. Or separate the elbows away from each other, try and pull them apart. Just after a little while there, just creep the fingers a little closer together. Keep the head lifted, try not to poke your head forwards. Keep your head lifted. Breathe in evenly, having a little bit of a tug of war between the two elbows, trying to separate them. Inhaling those energy giving ingredients of the environment percolating into the blood, into the lungs, which percolates into the blood. And then gently release the top arm. You might have to drop the chest a little to release the bottom arm. And then spread the fingers, stretch out of the pose, resist the temptation to shake your hands. So just breathing evenly, bringing in the energy from the environment into the lungs. Swap the belt over to the other side. And then stretch your right arm forward, stretching into each individual finger on both hands. And then turn the arm, the upper arm, the lower arm, and the hand. Get the palm to face up towards the ceiling. Keep rotating the upper arm in the socket. Keep the arm high, and then assist that arm up the back. Try and get your fingers to touch the neck. Well, that's at least where we kind of aiming towards. And then reach up, extend out of the previous pose. So there's always some kind of good stretching to get out of that arm that was behind the back. So reach out of the shoulder and then reach down. See if you can take hold or use the belt. So as usual on this side, I need the belt because I've had shoulder cuff injury on this lower shoulder. So that obviously kind of has an effect on long-term flexibility, but we can do this pose to kind of encourage greater flexibility. So again, work from the feet, turning the legs inwards. Find the center of the heel, press down into the center of the heel and then lift up out of the center of the heel. Prise the elbows away from each other, even though we try and bring the hands a little closer together. Breathing evenly, rhythmically, deeply. And then gently release the top arm, stretch out of that shoulder, just release the bottom arm. And again, spread the fingers, resisting the temptation to shake the arms. Turn the palms all the way out. Again, rotating the upper arms in the sockets so that you really broaden the shoulders. Breathing evenly, deeply. Just raise the arms up, hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, step the feet hip width apart, turn the toes in, and then if you've got problems with the back, just come halfway and bring your hands onto a wall. Otherwise, lengthen the front of the chest and then hang down, just feeling that release in the lower back, keeping the legs really firmly activating, letting the top of the body hang down for uttanasana. So I'm just turning this way because my floor is more level this way. Continuing to turn the legs so that you can maintain that connection with the center of the heel, and then lift up from the heel. And then release your hands down to the floor, and then come up into the standing position. Just come back into Tadasana for a moment. Just stretch your arms behind you, interlock the fingers behind your back, and then just squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other. Draw in the crease of the elbows to face the front. Lifted the chest. Drawing the abdomen towards the spine, drawing the lower ribs also in towards the spine. Tucking the tailbone in. And then gently release, and then come down onto your back for supta baddha konasana. The soles of the feet are together, knees fall apart. You can always put some blocks underneath your outer thighs if there's stiffness in your hips. Just let gravity open up the inner groin. So stretching the legs, opening the shoulders, and now supta baddha konasana, opening up the hips, but just using gravity to aid that action. Push the feet together like you're in Tadasana. So have the outer edge of the feet in contact. The center of the heel, the toe mounds in contact with the insteps, driving apart. Just gently press the heels together. Press the feet together. Turn the tailbone in and up towards the ceiling to soften the lumbar. Broaden from the abdomen out into the abdominal walls. Stretch your arms up towards the ceiling, interlock your fingers, turn the palms all the way out, and then extend your arms along the floor. Have a folded blanket or some blocks underneath your arms if there's stiffness in your shoulders. Otherwise, just use the floor, keep the feet active, keep the legs active. Keep the abdomen drawing towards the spine. Just observe your contact with the floor. Just feeling how those inner groins open a little. Perhaps they resist it a little. Just push the in-breath into areas of resistance. Push the out-breath into areas of resistance. So while the in-breath brings in this feeling of vitality, the out-breath is our exhaust pipe, if you like. It's the way that we release toxins. So the in-breath draws in oxygen, and that oxygen gets absorbed into the blood, and that blood gets pumped around the body, and every living cell feed from the oxygen so that they could perform their function optimally. And then when they have used the oxygen, it gets converted to carbon dioxide, and that gets pumped back around the lungs, and we exhale it. Andrew, I'm sure you can give us a much more detailed and accurate definition of that process, but I think that's probably the simplest way to put it. Release your arms, bring your arms to the ceiling, just swap the interlock of the fingers, and then turn the palms outwards, and again reach your arms along the floor. Listening to the breath. Partly you allowing gravity to do the work, partly activating the legs to do the work, finding that level of effortless effort. So there are 4 stages of the breath. The inhalation, where we engage with those energizing properties of the environment, allowing those to percolate into the blood. And then the inhalative retention, where we allow that energy of the breath to percolate more deeply, to distribute more deeply around the body. And then the out breath is our function of removal, getting rid of the waste created through the function of digestion. So digestion of oxygen rather than food, of course. And then the exhalative retention, that if held for the right amount of time, just briefly, it purges the body of stress and anxiety. If you hold that exhalative retention for too long, however, it can make you kind of gasp for breath when you inhale, and that is an anxiety action. So you have to find the right balance with the retentions. Gently release your arms, just rest your hands on your lower ribs. And then very gently draw your knees towards each other. Have your knees together and your feet apart. And then draw your knees in toward your chest. Just have a little rock from top to bottom, from side to side, just giving yourself a gentle massage on the spine. And then rock yourself up into a seated position. And then come into cross legs. Just hold on to your knees and lift and open the chest. Draw your chin forwards and down, bringing the chin in contact with the chest. And then lift Mula Bandha, raising the anal sphincter up towards the diaphragm region. And then either keep your eyes open and looking at a single spot, or close your eyes. And just focus on the function of breath. So inhale slowly, deeply, rhythmically, evenly. And as long as there aren't any high blood pressure or heart conditions that could be worsened from holding the breath, then just retain the breath briefly, just for a second or two. Working with the out breath. And then at the end of the out breath, retain the breath before you inhale, but not for too long. Yogic breathing techniques are meditative in their origin and in their effect. They basically consist of 4 parts. They are inhalation or puraka, retention of the breath after inhalation, and tara kumbhaka, exhalation, rachaka, and retention after exhalation, vaya kumbhaka. The in-breath should be long, subtle, deep, rhythmic, and even. The energizing ingredients of the atmosphere percolate into the cells of the lungs and rejuvenate life. By retaining one's in-drawn breath, the energy is fully absorbed and distributed to the entire system through the circulation of blood. The slow discharge of air in exhalation carries out accumulated toxins. By pausing after the out-breath according to one's capacity, all stresses are purged and drained away. The mind remains silent and tranquil. If you over-prolong the pause, you'll feel a sudden lurch of panic and suck in more air greedily. This is our instinctive attachment to life reasserting itself. Inhalation is the extension and expansion of the self. With the help of the in-breath, the self embraces its sheaths up to the skin of the body, like a lover embracing their beloved. Pranayama is more than a physiological breathing exercise, because breath is life. The art of judicious, thoughtful, ungreedy breathing is a prayer of gratitude we offer to life itself. It's impossible when we turn our attention to the inner movement of breath to use our senses externally at the same time. You cannot also be thinking that you must stop at the supermarket on the way home after work. Pranayama is the beginning of withdrawal from the external engagement of the mind and the senses. That is why it brings peacefulness. It is the hinge between extroversion and introversion. When you start asana practice, you gain increased confidence, poise, self-assurance, and the radiance of health. After all, energy is in itself an attractive quality. By all means, enjoy these benefits in your contact with the world. But yoga also asks us inwardly to invest some of what we have gained. This is introversion in its positive sense, not a shying away from the world of feelings of inadequacy, but a desire to explore your inner world. The breath working in the sheath of the physiological body serves as a bridge between body and mind. Just bring the breath back to a normal rhythm, and then release Mula Bandha, release Jalandhara Bandha, and then just observe the feeling inside the body energized. Lift and open the chest, and then turn the spine to the right side. Just turning the abdomen and the ribs and the shoulders. And then come back to the center, lift and open the chest, and then turning to the left. And then come back to the center. Just come down onto your back, and we're going to go into setubandha. So if you're not doing setubandha, you can do viparita karani, legs in the air, holding the edges of the mat. Otherwise, get yourself a block, lift the seat bones up, come right up onto the tops of the shoulders, and then place the brick in the tailbone region, in the sacrum tailbone region. Hold onto the edges of the mat, turn the creases of the elbows to face to the ceiling, and then one leg at a time, just straighten out your leg. See how that feels. If that's too strong for you, then stay with the legs bent, or do viparita karani. Stretch the legs out. So breathing evenly, tadasanaizing the legs, keeping the thighs turning inwards, the fronts of the thighs turning inwards. Just listen to the sound of the breath. Feel that you're pressing your feet into the wall if you're stretching your legs away. Feel that you could make a perfect footprint with the feet, not just touching the toes, pressing with the whole of the foot. So pulling the toes towards the kneecap a little. Just drawing the breath into the body, using the out breath to bring calm and quiet. So we don't always incorporate the retentions, of course. Sometimes it can be just a good way to quieten the mind, as long as you don't overhold. Extend into the legs if you are, stretching the legs out, and find that balance of effortless effort. You need to work with the breath in order to glean the energy of the breath. Okay, just gently draw your feet back to the block. If you're in setubandha, just lift yourself up off the block, lifting the tailbone off the block, and then removing the block out of the way, adjusting your shoulders as you come down, and then drawing your knees in towards your chest, just giving yourself a really gentle massage on the spine, just a gentle rocking from side to side, from top to bottom, just ironing out any tension in the spine. And then just rock yourself up into a seated position, and then just lay along your front. If there's any discomfort in your back, you can put a bolster underneath your knees just to help your back release. Just bring yourself down into a really good straight line with the blanket underneath your head. Just take your glasses off if you're wearing them, and then gently just stretch out along the floor. Allow the body to completely let go. Allow the body to release into the floor. Unhooking the muscles of the arms and the legs. Letting go of the tensions of the poses. Just focusing on normal inhalation, normal exhalation. As you allow the body to release, just observe the feeling of lightness that rises up out of the bones and up into the upper facing skin. Distribute that feeling of lightness evenly throughout the body. Down into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the top of the head. And then when you're ready to disturb yourself, just gently wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. Just bring yourself back into this pose of Shavasana. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock side to side, just a grounding massage, just bringing your energy back into the body, into the earth. And then gently roll over onto your right side. And then straighten out the top leg, just come back up into a seated position. Just the final cross legs with your hands. Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Close your eyes, draw your breath in through your nose down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice. Good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the reclining poses, the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to seek to acknowledge the positive energy you've created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then very gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards. And as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel as though you have just lifted your energy, giving yourself some good energy to put into your day. That little passage that I was reading was about the breathing, was from Light on Life by BKS Iyengar. So it's just nice to introduce some of that into our practice sometimes. So thank you very much for joining me.